College life can be challenging, especially for Black students facing unique struggles and pressures, but you don't have to face it alone. Introducing Read You, the mental health app created by Black innovators for people of all walks of life. Read You understands your pain and mental health struggles because it's designed by people who truly get it. With Read You, you have access to culturally competent therapists, stress reduction techniques, and a supportive community all at your fingertips. Get ready to join a community that understands you, supports you, and helps you thrive.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Dante Wade, COO and co founder of Read You, which is a mental health and wellness mobile application. And I am also your new host of Psych Hip Hop, where we have the intersection between mental health and our favorite genre of music, which is hip hop. For our first episode, we're going to be interviewing Kaah, who's the son of the legendary Freaky Tah from the Lost Boyz hip hop group. Major group to come out of New York for my hip hop historians and legends till this day. This interview was just in time for Freaky Tie Day, which is going to be taking place in Queens, New York this weekend, where they will be naming a street after him. So, really looking forward to you guys watching this interview. It was about legacy, it was about fatherhood, it was about resilience, and overall, it was just about mental health and pushing forward. So, looking forward to it and many more episodes of Psych and Hip Hop. What's going on? What's going on, everybody? My name is Dante Wade. I am COO and co founder of Read You and a guest contributor on Psych and Hip Hop. So, before we dive into it, Read You is one of the sponsors of this podcast. And Read You is a mental health and wellness technology company that serves as a personal guide to mental, physical, and emotional success. And we're very excited today to have a special guest in the building. He's an artist, he's an entrepreneur, but most of all, he's a brand straight out of Far Rockaway, Queens, New York, Freaky Kaah. Thank you for joining today, good brother.
Thanks for having me today, Dante. It's no pleasure being on your platform, for real.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The honor is all mine. So I appreciate you joining as well. So I just want to dive right into it. So you had a unique upbringing, and when I say unique upbringing, it's the fact that you were not only the son of a legend, but you got to experience a lot of pivotal moments in not only New York history but hip hop history. So tell us a little bit about what your upbringing was like.
You gotta understand, I was a little pup growing up in Far Rockaway, Queens. My pops was from South Jamaica, Queens. My mom's was from Far Rock. So, growing up, I kind of had, the best of both hoods. And
Hmm.
in the midst of that, in my younger years, my pops began blowing up. He started to experience his stardom, getting, his fame and his name out there with the Lost Boys or whatever. So I was in elementary school around that time. So getting experience, not just I still lived in the in the city, still lived in the hood, but
Hmm.
I got a little taste of going on the road early, going to different shows, being in music videos, going being around the entertainment lifestyle, getting to see what my dad was doing. So I got exposed to that a little bit early in the game. So it was kind of it was a dope experience, but it came with its pros and its cons, because still being in the ghetto, still people having that access to you, and
Hmm.
it opens up doors for I guess a lot of exposure, a lot of exposure.
100%. 100%. And it's interesting because a lot of people can't handle that exposure when they're adults, let
Right.
alone, you're a kid, you're in elementary school and you're starting to see those things. So I know when you're going through it sometimes, it's almost like I have to adapt. But what was it like that adaptation to really a new life for not only you, but your whole family?
Well, it wasn't really like a new life. It kind of felt like that's what life was at that time, So it
Hmm.
wasn't really too much of consciously trying to adapt to certain things. 'Cause I was still young. I'm still, just like I figure. I guess that's how I thought things were supposed to be. Not, as you get older, you start maturing and you start seeing how things do actually develop. So it wasn't really like an adaptation. It was more of an adaptation after the fact
Hmm.
than it was go like being in the experience. It's kind of like I was not born because my dad and them didn't get really get lit until I was about 4 or 5 years old. So
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say born into that, but
Yeah.
kind of shift, like I was growing as they were growing. If that
Yeah.
makes any sense, you
Yeah.
know?
Now it makes sense. You was young enough for it to feel normal, like this is just
Right.
life.
That's a fact.
Yeah. Nah, that makes a lot of sense. So at what age would you say like the shift in your mind happened where you said, nah, I'm really living like a different life than most of the people in my family, even in my community?
It would be like I said, on more the after he, after he was gone type,
Mm,
growing up and really figuring out life as a young black man growing up in America,
mm-hmm.
figuring those avenues out on your own, you feel me?
Yeah.
So that's when I really, cause like when he was here, it was more so it was more so going through it with him. Like I'm growing with him. I'm growing through I'm seeing this. It's normal to me. But when he's
Mm-hmm.
not here, it's like, nah, this is a little bit more different than what I expect.
Yeah.
So that's when it became, everybody got their renditions of him. People that's been around him. So they got they stories, their perspectives of what he was and who he is, and then on top of that, me taking that and trying to decipher what is and what's really not, and who he really was. I'm still trying to learn who he was too, because I lost him so early,
Yeah.
So that was more the transition and the adaptation to it. Like, all right, damn, you
Yeah.
come from such a great, legacy, and how you gonna move, how to move going forward was more of the transition, like how to move going forward. Because everybody around you is still off riding off of the high that they had when he was around,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, but once it start fizzling down, you start seeing things aren't always what it seemed, And
Mm-hmm.
it's not even about him. It's just when you remove now is I have to decide. I have to figure this out myself, you know.
Mm-hmm.
People, places, things, you know.
Yeah, yeah. It's no handbook to life, let alone
Right.
a handbook to figuring out how to navigate the world without your pops. So it's not an easy situation at all. And first, I want to commend you for being here today and making it this far, despite the obstacles and despite not having your pops there, because there's a lot of people that crash out in those situations, but you were able to
That's a
stand
fact.
tall and endure. So I got to tip my hat off to you for that because I know it's not easy to do that.
Nah, that's a fact. And especially coming from where I come from, like from Far Rock, like
Hmm.
it's not really that much. It's not too much, to explain about that. Like if you know Far Rock, you know what Far Rock is about. And growing up there, then being who I was, so it was like a lot of people knew me. And not only that, I lived in Brooklyn. I didn't have to go to like I grew up in Brooklyn too. Grew up in
Hmm.
South Jamaica too. So it's like I'm in different environments any like given time of the week, any given time of the day growing up. I'm in Brooklyn. I was in school. I'm one of the very few cats from Queens. I'm in school too. They like, oh, we all Brooklyn. I'm from Queens. Where you from?
Yeah.
I'm from Far Rock. I'm from Southside. They like, oh nah, we gotta get up with him.
Mhm.
So I'm in those environments until standing on my own. Like I gotta be this type of way. You start learning how to deal with people and maneuver in certain environments, and you know it wasn't it was rough, but it wasn't too rough because I come from a rough environment. You feel
Yeah,
me?
yeah,
So not don't take it like, yeah, my pops was who he was, and he is who he is. But that still don't change my upbringing, like you said. My pops was a star. My mom's was still in the hood with
hmm,
me. So
hmm,
and that it didn't feel like a struggle. But as I get older and I start realizing, certain things for different perspectives could be for Mama Love, it could have been a little harder.
hmm,
My pops on the road doing whatever he doing, she busting her ass taking care of the kids.
hmm,
Until you get older and you understand, and like, all right, nah, things is a little bit different. But I'm not looking at it like that growing up,
hmm,
But I'm still in these environments, still trying to figure it out. I'm outside, I'm hanging out with the guys. I'm in school. I'm in different areas. I gotta make new friends. I gotta be this type of way. And I was just learning myself and trying to figure myself out, and figuring it out without my pops was a little harder.
Yeah, 100%. So I gotta ask you this, in case there's somebody who's watching that has a similar experience. How'd you remain strong during that time?
Honestly, like I would say, because I'm the oldest, so it was always I always had that like on my back. Like I got my brothers, my sisters, they looking up to me. I got people around me that's like, I bet. So if I fold, it's like I ain't doing no justice. Like, so my motivation was always like, I know I got somebody that's looking up to what I'm doing, or paying attention to what I'm doing. But most of all, the biggest motivation is God, keeping God in the picture. And
Mhm,
secondly, it was just more so just like, yo, look where you come from. You feel me? Look where you come from. You come from your pop's legacy is ill. So it's not like nothing to put my head down about. So I was like, I'm in a situation where I could keep my head up. And if I could keep it up and I can honor, my pop's been going for 26 years and he's still revered to this day. So
mhm,
it's like, that's a blessing in itself. I come not, and I had to realize like, yo, I come from that. So
mhm,
that's my fuel, like, to the fire, always. Remember who you are. Remember where you come from.
It's so crazy you mentioned that. And you might laugh at me, but I tell people all the time, Lion King is one of my favorite movies. And
Nah, for real. I can relate
yeah,
to it in so many ways. You feel me?
yeah, and it's one scene in the movie that I always talk about. It's when Simba was debating on going back home or not. And his father appeared and he said, "Remember who you are.
Remember who you
Remember
are
who
at the
you are."
water. At the
Mm-hmm.
water. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
That's the same thing I think about all the time. Like, yo, just remember who you are, where you come from. You feel me? What you are, what you doing it for. It's not. It's more so like I'm doing it for me. At the end of the
Mm-hmm.
day, like I'm not doing it to get no validation from anybody else. But I come from a legacy, and it's the work is there. The work shows for itself. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
And I go through things that people don't understand. I go through things that I don't talk to everybody about. You feel
Yeah.
me? And it's like, but sometimes it's like, all right, maybe you got to find a medium and remember, like, to remind you who you are and where you at and what you do. Because that shit is important. That shit is detrimental to our mental health. You feel me? Because sometimes we psych ourselves out the game. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of people have played it like we be in there and we psych ourselves out of it, overdoing it. So
Mm-hmm.
that's
Nah,
that's
100%.
real important.
100%. And it's crazy you mentioned that because, we lose in our head more times than we actually lose in life
And
if we
trust me,
stop ourselves.
I deal with that a lot, so I know. And it's like sometimes, like I said, I gotta sit back and check myself. Like, nah, remember who you are. Get it going. Like
Mm-hmm.
my even with the co-naming and celebrating Freaky Tile legacy. Like, even when I was a kid, I always seen it being bigger, and I knew the mission was like, yo, like, the legacy is already there. So I gotta. It's gonna come a time where I have to step in
Mm-hmm.
and either make the decision to keep it going or just chop it up. You feel me? So
Mm-hmm.
it's like now we 26 years later about to get the street name in honor of him, and just to remind the people what we do, who we are, where we come from. Like, this is like we don't we're not as bad as we make it seem to ourselves. You feel me? Like
Mm-hmm.
you said, something we lose way more in our head than we do when we play out. Like, you feel me? So I
Mm-hmm.
try to just. It's easier said than done, but that's my battery in my back right now.
Yeah. It's always easier said than done. But I mean, greatness don't come easy. And I gotta ask you, you're in a position where not only do you have to keep a legacy going of greatness that was already established, but it's also carving out your own path and building your own legacy to
That's
move
a fact.
forward. So, how do you balance the two and making sure that your father's name lives on and everything that he built still goes, but you also have your name that you're building, you're pushing forward as well?
Well, honestly, it's like now the two go together right now because my whole thing is was building my name, getting my you feel me, getting my feet planted in this situation, in this industry, whatever you want to call it. But
Mm-hmm.
that's always been my mission to show that I could hold it down. I could stand
Yes,
on my
sir.
own two and I could represent. Like none of this. I'm not here because that's Freaky Tai's son. Let's put him in position. I put myself in any position that you see me in right now.
Mm-hmm.
Even I remember when I first started, really taking the music serious, and I'm like, yo, I want to start. Let me do shows with Cheeks. Like, let me open up to the point where I just used to just pop up to shows, no invite at all. I'm just popping up. What? Give me hijacking mics, hopping on stage, and then it's like, oh nah, he here. Like
Yeah.
it's only right. To the point where I started doing my own thing. I started getting my own wave. Shout out my team, Key York City. We just started just building our own, but it always coincided with the legacy. It always, that's Ty's son. It's always so it's like, all right, it's out there. I'm gonna be frustrated with everybody attaching me to it, or I'm gonna embrace it and just run with it and represent the best way I could. So my legacy that's a part of my legacy because I feel like if I didn't
Looks
go as
like you
hard as I
froze a
was,
little bit.
we say it again. Oh, my fault. But I feel like if I didn't go as hard as I was going, and I am going to keep the legacy alive, it wouldn't even, what I was trying to do wouldn't even resonate as how I was trying to how I'm trying to make it resonate. So people know me as all of the music. People know me as getting stuff done in the community. People know me as putting in the work to keep the legacy alive. So I'm automatically attached to it, and now whatever I do going forward, they always gonna know the legacy is that this is real legacy. This is not no for play. I didn't grow up in the mansion. I didn't. This wasn't just yo. This is my son. My dad died when I was 9 years old. So whatever you see from me is really off the muscle.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the legacy. Like yo, damn, his pops didn't really have to do nothing for him to
Mm-hmm.
be a man, to be the man that he is. He just put himself in play. He played the position and represented his pops to the fullest. So when you see me, it's like, oh nah, Kaah, he represents Ty. And whatever he's doing is all his work. Cause nobody could say my pops ain't making not one phone call for me to ever go in the studio. My pops never made a call for me to be in any situation. This is all me. And in the process, I'm keeping the legacy alive. So that's my mark in the game.
100%. And I was listening to some of your music before as I was preparing for this interview, and I could just tell from the bars and the lyrics that you present that there's a certain amount of grit to it.
Mhm.
And grit can't be manufactured. Like you either gonna build it off of your own experiences or you just don't got it.
That's
And
a
the level of grit I hear in your music, I could tell is something that you built off the muscle and something that you mentioned was so important on building your own foundation and doing the work for yourself. Because when we talk about mental health, you carry it a little bit different when you earned your way into that position as
right.
opposed to somebody getting you there. So I gotta commend you on that one. And I know it's not easy, but shoot, you doing it.
That's a fact. That is a
Yeah.
fact. It's not easy, but you just gotta take it a day at a time. If this is what you want to do, it comes with that.
Mm-hmm.
So I try
Mm-hmm.
to prepare myself. Like the mental struggle is really the hardest part of it. Getting over it, dealing with certain anxieties, dealing with certain depressing moments, dealing with like motivating yourself to do what need to be done when nobody's gonna do it. Like all of that plays a role. And like I said, I've been doing this by myself without my dad, but I know his spirit is a motivational force in me moving forward as well. You feel me? That's the main reason why I go so hard, and it's like, nah, you got to keep the legacy going. Because if you don't,
Mm-hmm.
and the nah, we can't let this fizzle away. The energy is it's too grand. You know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And legends don't die.
And
their physical body may leave, but legends don't die.
nah, that's a fact. Like I say, energy don't die. Energy don't die. Just transfer over. You know. So
Hmm.
I just picked up the ball and I'm keeping it going. And the best way I know how to do it. You know. Free guitar days been going on. Shout out my uncle. He had free guitar going for the last 24 years. But last year and this year, I stepped in and really played a big role in, enforcing that we amplify it, get the world on page the same page that we doing, and spread the message because, gun violence plague our communities left and right and
Hmm.
on all levels, whether it's coming from us killing us, whether it's coming from them killing us, the violence is at an all time high.
Hmm.
RP, the artist from Philly, he just got killed, and he's pushing positives. He pushing positive, raps. He talking in the struggle, the same pain, the same grit you was just saying that's in the music. Like, so it's we trying to push the message and the agenda, like, cause that's what's really psyching us out. PTSD is real in the hood. Like, these
Hmm.
are things that really matter, and we don't speak on it, we don't talk about it, we don't broadcast it. Like, so I salute you for that because that's necessary. So we trying to push that agenda. Like, nah, that's corny. Let's
Hmm.
focus up. Let's focus on. Let's live a little bit longer. So that's the message. That's the vibes that we pushing. Whole summer going forward.
100%. So I gotta ask you this, and I'm glad you came to this topic because I didn't know we were gonna go here. But from my personal experiences, I could quick story. So I went away to college, and I came back the first semester for winter break. And by that time, I was 19, so I had a couple friends that already passed away. Whether it be the violence or what have you. But the first day I got back, one of my mans was shot and killed that night at a party downtown. And I went through a moment where I was just like, I'm never coming back. Why go back to the hood? All they did was string out my peoples, kill my other peoples. I'm not going back. I
So yeah,
did
I had this.
decide to go back, but I want to ask you because I decided to go back and I put in work and I was volunteering and I'm doing all of these things. But I want to ask you when you had those moments where it's like, my people still dying, my people still on drugs, my people still struggling. What keeps you in the fight? Because for the people that are actually doing the work, they know it could get discouraging sometimes.
Nah, for real. Mirror story to yours. Freaking my first day of college was August 10th. My god brother, my best friend, we since freaking elementary school.
Hmm.
We both were supposed to start college August 10th. He get killed July 10th,
Mm.
right before we both supposed to leave. And we both from the same building, it's same hood, same age, doing the same things. My
Hmm.
boy get killed 30 days before we supposed to leave. Both of us, the only two from the hood that's leaving the hood.
Hmm.
So it's like, damn, my whole mental was like, even the whole to process the whole thing is like, damn, what do we do next? Do we
Yeah.
jump out the window? Do we leave? Do we don't come back? Do we? So it's just more so like my whole motivation was kids, like it's the young ones, because
Hmm.
even though all of this stuff go down and we forget a lot of this stuff go down where the kids is at. So nobody thinking about the kids.
Hmm.
My boy got killed broad daylight, summertime. Kids could have been walking outside. You
Hmm.
feel me? Like kids is admiring the things that we doing. Kids are sponges. Now I got a kid, so it's like even amplified. It's like, nah, we gotta do better. We gotta do better for them. Like, and that's always been my thing. Like, nah, we gotta figure out a way to do better for them. Like, and then when you hear stories about kids getting killed and all that, that's the sad. That's the shit that make you want to be like, damn, I don't even want to do this no more. I'm gonna just step out and just isolate myself, me and mines, and then that's that. But my main drive and when it come to that and staying in it is like, nah, these kids, it's like what we really teaching them? Like, can we find something else to put them on to?
Hmm.
And
And
like
you
you
don't
said,
expose them.
by
No,
the
go ahead.
time that happened, when you already experienced multiple people dying and getting killed or whatever. Prior to that, this one just hit you a little bit harder, but the shit is so normal that it's not even, we forgetting that this shit is becoming normal to them too. You feel me?
Hmm.
But before they even 10 years old, I know kids that have been to 3 or 4 funerals
Hmm. Hmm.
from the freaking stroller to the time they in elementary school. They didn't been to funerals of people that didn't. So it's like, nah, we gotta show the kids a little something different.
A hundred
You
percent.
know? So that's what
Hundred
keep
percent.
me in the game.
Yeah, and that's how you change the community with the young folks and showing them something different. Because
That's a
if you
fact.
don't expose them to nothing different, they're gonna gravitate towards what gets the most attention, especially if they ain't getting that attention at home. So what you're saying is super important. And I want to ask you this too, because you've had a level of success. I'm sure that many people who you grew up with, if they're whether they're not here anymore or they just didn't make it to that level, they didn't get it. So do you ever experience survivor's remorse?
What you mean by that? So you said survivor's remorse.
Yes, sir.
It was a point where it kind of felt like that at the time, but it's like at a point you gotta realize like we elevating. You gotta elevate in order for anything. If you're not elevating yourself, it's really not much you're gonna see in the process anyway. That's
Hmm.
if I'm sitting back and I'm not elevating and you're elevating, I'm not gonna get it. It's things that I'm not gonna get.
Yeah, yeah.
So we we get too caught up in ourselves and feeling bad for ourselves for other people not being where we at or where we trying to go. We work a
Mm,
lot, we work hard. We try and get everybody on the same page. The ideal picture would be for everybody, but I feel like we be a little too hard on ourselves for those that don't get it. Everybody don't get it. Everybody not supposed to be where you are at the time that you are. And it's not your fault. It's not their fault. It's just not the time.
mm.
You know.
That's wisdom. I should have spoke to you a few years back, whenever I was dealing with, what I was going through. But did you always have that feeling, or did that just come with age, wisdom, experience?
Nah, it just came with all three, man. It's age, wisdom, and experience. Because we get like one thing. I should have studied psychology when I had the chance to, like,
Yeah.
because I had like one course in it, and that was the only course that I aced. But I always had a perspective on life where it was like I didn't try to take everything personal, you
Hmm.
know. So, but as I got older and I started just realizing that everybody's different. We never gonna be 100% on the same page as the next person next to us. So, but it was just more so just dealing with certain shit, getting disappointed through having too many expectations, and then finding myself, taking time to find myself because I told you in the journey I'm growing up without a pop. So,
Hmm.
and it's hard, sometimes it's hard to decipher what's real, what's fake until you really get in those situations and you're exposed to what's real and what's fake. And
Hmm.
so those lessons kind of molded me into the thought process.
No, 100%. 100%. That makes a lot of sense. So let me ask you this, and I want to get into Freaky Tade as well and talk about not only the build up to it, but the actual day and how you're feeling on it. But before we dive into that, I want to ask about the music overall and the role that music has played in your life. So I'm gonna start off with saying, was music always like the choice, or was it another road that you were trying to go down first?
Man, I ain't gonna lie. I ain't know what the hell I wanted to do. I just wanted to get out of Far Rockaway. So,
Yeah.
like, I was just going through some of my old shit. I looked at an old report, my senior report card. I just found my senior report card. I ain't see it since I was a senior in high school.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at some of the remarks my teachers had made on it. Like one of my teachers, like, yo, he an excellent student. Like he very engaging. You know, another teacher, like, he could show more effort. He could put in more work. Another teacher's like, this kid is out of here. Like, I don't know what the hell. So I'm looking at it and reflecting on where I was then and where I'm at now, and how it makes more sense now to
Mm-hmm.
what they was seeing. And I say that to say this is like, as I started finding myself, like, and I see these characteristics in myself, it's like, nah, I started figuring out what it was that I really wanted to do as I got older, as I started experiencing shit. When I went to college, started doing shit on my own,
Mm-hmm.
finding myself, and that's when I started finding my way. But music was always in me and a part of me, because like I told you in the beginning, like I was kind of like phased into it. Like I was born, then they got lit. It's just a part of my growth as uh a young kid.
Mm-hmm.
So it never really was like, yo, was music a thing? Music was always there.
Yeah.
My dad used to come hang out. I'm freestyling with them at 5'6", 4'5". So it's just coming, like, it's just like second nature to me, because I'm experiencing it and I'm watching that. But as I
Mm-hmm.
got older and I started going to high school, middle school, first time I ever got suspended for school, I was in like the third grade, because I was in the bathroom cutting the class and rapping for like 2 hours straight. Me and my man's in
Yeah.
there banging on. First time I ever got kicked out of middle school, rapping in class, because me and my man's in the class, back of the class. So it's always been like, all right, damn, rap this. I'm on a train riding from Coney Island to Far Rock to Brooklyn, rapping on the train, battling niggas. Like, so that was always there, but I never really took it serious. Then when I went to VA, they like, nah, boy is nice, and I'm just freestyling off the top of the head, like, no
Mm-hmm.
writing raps and shit. Like, but I did write my first rap when I was in the third grade. I had a karaoke machine. Me and my boy was recording this shit on the tape. So that was the first rap I ever recorded and wrote down. But music was just always there. It was like a part of my personality. Oh, word, Kaah had, yo, Kaah freestyle. Now
Mm-hmm.
everybody getting excited. But then I went to college when I was 17, so I had older guys, I had guys younger. I mean, my age is like, oh nah, you need to rap. I'm like, all
Yeah.
right. So we about to start rapping. And then from there I just started rapping and taking that shit serious. And
That's love. That's love. And what role has the music played in your mental health?
that's therapy right there. It's going to the studio, making music, being around the music, going to shows, doing shows. That's my real true therapy. So it's always been a major role in my mental health.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I could tell. I could tell. Like I said, I was listening to your tracks and mentioning the goal, the journey, the destination, the people that are no longer here, the disappointments, how you turn the disappointments into blessings and triumphs. Like all that just sounds like I felt like I was sitting in your therapy session actually as I was bumping your tape. So I definitely understand that one.
Nah, definitely, definitely.
Yeah, so I want to get into Freaky Tade, which is going to be taking place this Saturday, correct?
Yeah, May 17th, we in Queens, Springfield Park. Um, we also gonna be on 134 on God Broad at 10 a.m. for the street naming. So that's gonna be an eventful day in Queens. It's gonna be a lot going on. Uncle
Yeah.
Ralph McDaniel's gonna be out there. You know, we got a lot of special guests. We got the Lost Boys gonna be in the building. It's gonna be one for the books.
How you feel leading up to the day, knowing that the same streets that you've walked, your pops walked, now is going to be forever etched in history with his name on it.
Nah, I got a little anxious. I'm a little anxious right now. As it get
Okay.
closer, I got a lot trying to last minute details, making sure everything is tight. But I'm excited though. I know it's gonna
Mhm.
be a beautiful turnout. I knew he's proud of it. I know he would be proud, and we making history. You know, we making history. It's a long time coming, but like I tell everybody, it's all God's time. So I ain't rushing no process. I'm gonna let it do what it do.
Yep, yep. And I'm gonna tell you, I understand the anxiousness. You planning an event, it's super close to you, but it's gonna go well, man. It's gonna go super
Appreciate
well.
that.
Yes, sir. So I got one more question for you, then I'm gonna get you up out of here. I want to ask you, we were talking a little bit earlier. You were talking about, navigating the disappointments that you've faced and growing past them. So I want to ask you, what has been, and you can give multiple examples, but I'll just ask for one, an example of a disappointment that you had that ended up turning into a blessing for you.
Man, that's a good question. I could give you multiple examples, but
Hey man,
damn,
feel free. I ain't gonna stop you.
nah, it's just more of that story is just show up, show
Mhm,
up. I done had times where it was like, all right, dang, they saying like I know I need to be there, and it was other, it's curveballs that's in the way and obstacles in the way that's like, nah, you can't come here, or and I just show up, and I show up, and things when I show up, things go my way, and
mhm,
I realize that's just the moral of the story. Show up. It ain't like the disappointing moments. We always gonna have disappointing moments,
mhm,
even when you think everything is gonna go how it's supposed to go. So I can't even really give one example, because if I give you an example, I'm gonna start rambling, and then I don't want to do that. But I'm gonna give you the moral of that whole joint in a nutshell. Is just show up for yourself, even when you don't want to, even when you don't feel like it. Just show up, even down to the street naming. We did the city council. I had to speak in front of the whole district,
mhm,
and there was just one person on the board that objected. We had 99.9% of the board members voted yes, and there's this
mhm,
one that was like, but these guys are from the hood and they music, and it's like, yo, bro, did you even ever sit down and listen to their music? Uh, and but the fact that if I didn't show up and present myself how I presented myself, it wouldn't it wouldn't have been the same defense level that it was, and support that it had from the people that do know the back history and do know the legacy that we trying to uphold right now. So
mhm,
that one, even though that one decision, that one objection could have changed the whole trajectory of how the turnout of this Saturday would be, because you need a unanimous decision for them to even approve you to get a street naming. So
mhm,
that one objection could have changed the trajectory of everything. And if I didn't show up, I would have been disappointed in myself.
mhm.
So to avoid that, just show up.
Yes,
Because
sir. Yes, sir.
nobody could disappointments only come with expectations.
Mhm,
The more you
mhm.
expect, the more you get disappointed. You only get disappointed when you expect, but nobody's gonna show up for you better than you show up for yourself. So put the expectation on you.
100%. That's a word right there. Put the expectation on you, and the real will always prevail.
The real is always gonna prevail.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. So before we jump out of here, I want you to tell people, besides what's going on Saturday, in addition to what's going on Saturday, where could they find you, follow you? What else you got going on right now?
Yes, yes. Like my bro just told you, you can find me at Freaky Kaah on all platforms, my music platforms, my social medias, FreakyKah. This Saturday, make your way to Queens, make your way to Springfield Park. It's gonna be a movie. We're gonna be celebrating and honoring the legacy of Freaky Ty, the Lost Boys, the the greatest hype man in hip hop history, hip hop legend. We on our way to the 30th anniversary of the Legal Drug Money album, so make sure y'all go cop that up. Make sure y'all stream that up, run that up. Let's keep the legacy alive. Salute to Cheek, salute to Spig, salute to Pretty Lou. We still here. Lost Boys is still running strong. Freaky Tile legacy lives on forever. He up there with the rest of them. Big, Pac, R.P. to all the greats. Hip hop.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Long live Freaky Ty, and Freaky Kai is
Yes.
keeping the legacy going on, man. Thank you so much for joining me, good brother.
You already know, man. I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely, man. You have a good one, and y'all tune into the next episode of Psych and Hip Hop.
Sir.
At the Natanya Experience, we believe we can all rise above challenges, heal, and shine together. And so we give big thanks to our amazing partners who share our vision of universal health and happiness.